Hey everybody, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Today I'm getting ready to do some more transplants of my tomatoes and peppers. I've got half of them done and potted up. But the problem with them was I used a bagged soil mix, and that bagged soil mix must have had some sort of fungal growth in it because everything started to get this little white fungus on top of the soil surface. And that's just not good. I let my plants all dry out and kind of kill off that fungus, so they're fine. But I don't want to have that happen again on my next batch. So what I'm going to do is make my own soil mix using a few simple ingredients that you can source locally at home. I'll go through the soil mix itself, and then we'll talk about how much it costs to do all that, which is actually probably cheaper than it is to go buy the bagged stuff. It just takes a little bit of time and effort to do, and it's just a little bit of time and effort. So let's go through some of the ingredients that I'm using in this soil mix. First off, this is coir, which is made from coconuts. It is a more ecological friendly option than peat. You can use peat, but if you use peat, you'll probably want to also add in some lime to the mix, probably a few tablespoons of lime for what I'm about to do. But we're going to use this coir. I'm also going to use these pine bark shavings. You can purchase them as soil conditioner in a lot of places, and this will just add a little bit of drainage to the mix. And we'll go over here, and this is just compost. Now, I don't have compost from my garden compost bins yet. They're just not far enough along. They are hot and they're doing it, but they're just not enough yet for me to use. So I purchased some store-bought compost. I believe it's Black Cow, which is made from composted cow manure. So we're going to use some of that. For fertilizer, I'm going to put in some of this Garden Tone. It's an organic fertilizer. The important thing about it is its NPK rating, which is somewhere on here, is pretty low. It's a 344. So it's not too high in the nitrogen. It's a fairly balanced mix. As long as you get your numbers somewhere in the ballpark, that's fine. As far as brand goes, there's quite a few of them out there. Just look for that NPK rating. Keep it somewhere around a 444 rating. Nice and balanced between the nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. All right, so let's get right into this. What we're going to use is this little scooper here as our scoop, and this is made from an old vinegar container. And what's kind of handy about it is you got the spout still on the one end, so you can use it as a funnel or as a scoop, however you need to use it. This is an old drawer that came out of an old refrigerator that we had and no longer have. And so I use this to mix my soil in. It's a perfect size. The container works really well. But if you don't have this, I'm sure you can find some other container to mix your soil in. I like mixing it in smaller amounts rather than big, huge, large amounts, because then you're having to deal with a shovel, wheelbarrows, and stuff like that. If you're just doing a few at a time just to pot up, smaller is probably better. So what we're going to do for the main mix for vegetable garden plants, we're going to do 2 parts of the coir, 2 parts of the compost, and 1 part of the bark shavings. If you are wanting to do a mix that's a little bit more like for herb plants, you'll probably want to reduce the compost, probably go about 1.5 on that, or 1, and keep the 1 part of the bark shavings and the 2 parts of the coir. Maybe add in 1 part of sand to that mix. And if you do that, that creates a little bit more drainage for them. Herb plants like rosemary don't really like to have a whole lot of richness in the soil. They're used to it being a little bit more arid and dry climates and maybe not as rich of a soil. So that's my recommendation on that. But let's get to it here. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to alternate which ingredients I'm putting in with the scooper. And these are kind of rough measurements. Obviously, it's not a perfect thing. I had to add a little bit more on that one. Now I'll add another of this. And then our 1 scoop of that. And then 1 more scoop of compost. Now let's go mix it up. Now mixing it up is the fun part. That's where you just put on a pair of gloves and go in and just kind of put it all together and get it good and mixed in. It may take a couple minutes to do it. And a couple things here. Always try to get your table height high enough where you're not comfortable or uncomfortable when you're reaching over things. It just makes it so much easier when you're transplanting stuff. My makeshift table here is just a couple sawhorses and a piece of plywood. But it gets it up almost exactly where I need it. I could probably stand to use it a couple inches higher. But there is the soil mix. You can see how it is nice and light. It's fluffy. The coir already had some water mixed into it from a recent rains because the container was open as I was letting the rain fall down to kind of break apart that big clump of core. It got a lot of that natural rainfall. So, and also the compost was fairly moist too. So this soil mixture is all ready to go for our transplants. So I should have already put this in with the mixture, but I'm going to put a very small handful of fertilizer in from this organic garden tone stuff. And then we'll mix that together too. Now, if you were adapting this for, say, landscaping plants or perennials, you may want to opt for a slow release fertilizer to go in here instead of something like the organic garden tone. They make some stuff, Osmocote has some things in there that you can mix in that will slowly release over a long period of time, so you're not having to fertilize it every month. This kind of fertilizer, organic fertilizers, will need to be replenished every couple of weeks in order to just keep a steady amount of nutrition in the soil. But considering we've got a lot of organic matter in here with the compost, we should be very good, at least for the next couple weeks until it's time to transplant. So next we're going to go ahead and transplant these little plants here. They're grown in these plastic cups. This is a Rosella tomato, which is a cherry style tomato that creates these bunches of cherries. And all we're going to do is get a little bit of a base amount of soil into that container. I'm going to break them up a little bit here by squeezing the container and then just kind of gently pry them apart. Sometimes if you add some extra water on top of them, it makes it a little easier and they'll just kind of break right apart. But I'm just going to gently pry them apart. Take our nice little tomato cutting right there, not cutting, plant, and give it a good handful of soil, just like that. Really not much to it. Transplanting tomatoes is very easy. They can grow roots all along the stem, so the deeper you plant them in the pot, the more roots you get along the sides. And then when you plant them again in the garden, strip off the leaves on the sides and plant it as deep as you can, and they will do amazing. And that's really all there is to it. I'm going to go through and do a bunch of these today, trying to get this all set so we have a good 3 weeks or so left before planting. These will probably put on a good, 6 to 8 inches of growth at least between now and then. So we're timing it just about right. We like to plant our tomatoes and things in the vegetable garden around May 1st or after. Our last frost date is traditionally around April 15th, but that is just a guideline. It can actually happen in between April 15th and May 1st. So I generally will just wait until May 1st these days so I don't have to worry about protecting things outside in the garden. So this mix works really well for your transplants and your potted plants. It's really meant for between when you've already got your seeds started and before you put them in the vegetable garden. If you are looking for a raised bed mix, you're not going to want to use the exact same mix here. You're going to want to add some topsoil to it. Topsoil contains micronutrients that are really beneficial for the plants as they grow. The organic matter helps to break up that clay so that plants have the accessibility of those micronutrients. Now you can add some extra things to this mix too that can, improve it some. If you have worm castings around, that would be great too to add in addition to the compost. If you wanted to change out the soil conditioner and use something like perlite to add good drainage, that would be great too. If you're looking more for a seed starting mix, you're probably going to want to go more of vermiculite with the core, that mixture there, and a lot less with the compost because you really don't need a whole lot of nutrients in there right off the bat when you're trying to start those seeds. You want something that's a very sterile seed starting mix. So let's take a look at the different materials and how much they cost. This is the core, and the core came in an 11-pound block that when you add water to it and decompress it, it comes to about 2.5 cubic feet of material. Now that cost me $26 for all of that, which is about $10.40 per cubic foot. Now bark fines like this are pretty cheap. They're about $5 for a 2 cubic foot bag, so 1 cubic foot is about $2.50. The compost that I purchased was made from cow manure, and this particular compost costs $7 for a 1 cubic foot bag, But you could do this a whole lot cheaper if you were composting at home, doing vermicomposting or just a regular compost bin, and you use the material from that. So this could be zero, but in my case today, it was $7 for a 1 cubic foot bag. So here's how all that breaks down. If I take 2 shares of the core, 2 shares of the compost, and then 1 share of the bark fines, we end up getting a price somewhere around $7.46 per cubic foot. Now, that is comparable to what I paid for with the potting soil. Might be a hair more expensive, but we are in the ballpark of being very equal. For that, there's another factor to think about. If you are doing your own home composting and able to produce your own compost, you can completely take that $7 a cubic foot out of the equation, and instead you're now looking at something more like $4.66 per cubic foot. So it gives you some definite numbers as far as considering your own home compost and using that in here. Next year, that's 100% what I want to be doing. So now you can kind of see how it all breaks down. And I definitely think it's worth it because I'm getting a much better soil for my potting than what I was before. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that grows my plants for the vegetable garden. So while the pricing didn't come in exactly as I'd expected it did come in comparable to the other potting soil mix. It is a better soil, and so I definitely think that was a win because we're getting something better for about the same price. Now we can do this a little bit cheaper when we start using our own compost and incorporate that into the mix. We can save somewhere between $1.50 and $2 per cubic foot that we use. And if you're doing a whole lot of plants, then that really does start to save you some money. So I hope this was interesting and helpful to you. If it was, hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Growing in the Garden. Thanks for watching.